Do you wonder how you can be grateful when there's so much pain in the world? Hi, and welcome back to Ask Dr. Saira, the show where I answer your questions about personal growth, spirituality, and relationships. So today we are speaking to Derek. Derek's question was, how can I be grateful when there is so much pain in the world? It feels Pollyanna-ish and privileged. Why do I have so much when others don't? So I'll read that again. How can I be grateful when there's so much pain in the world? It feels Pollyanna-ish and privileged. Why do I have so much when others don't? This is a really deep philosophical question, right? About why is it that I have and somebody else doesn't? This is about, how can I go along day to day to day, kind of in my happy life when other people are struggling and suffering so much? So it's a fair question when we're looking at the topic of gratitude. So there's a few different thoughts that I have about this one. The first thing is about comparison, right? So if you look around and compare yourself to anybody, there will be some things where you're clearly privileged in, and then there'll be other things that you're clearly not, right? So there'll be some places where you're kind of above, and there'll be some places where you're below. When we compare, we plot ourselves in this ladder. And I would say that that can be really, for some things that might be good. Like for the Olympics, okay, you need a first place, you need a second place, fine. But in human relationships and compassion towards others, that kind of a model doesn't really work as well, right? Because it's a comparison model. It's kind of a competition model of who can have it the worst. And I've had these conversations with people where it's like, comparing sob stories, like who has the worst story, who has a more difficult life. And ugh, why are we doing that, right? So it's okay. I think the first thing around comparison is acknowledging and being okay with whatever it is that you do have, noticing your privilege, right? Maybe even calling it out when it's needed, but also being grateful for it, right? Being grateful for all the things that had to happen for you to be in the position that you're in today, where you do have all of these things, right? What I'm hearing in the question is a lot of guilt, right? Feeling bad for having something when somebody else doesn't have. And that's not helping anyone. It's just making you feel bad and maybe making other people kind of roll their eyes like, really? Right? So it's not helping because you're comparing, right? You're comparing, and you don't always know what's happening for other people. And yes, there is a lot of pain in the world, but being stuck in guilt isn't going to help us solve that, or isn't going to help us, reach those people who need us. So that's the second part of it. So first is comparison. Second is leadership, right? In this kind of a mindset, there's an opportunity for leadership. There's an opportunity for social justice work or advocacy or just showing up for people who aren't in a place where they can be grateful right now, right? And that could be people as close as your own family members and friends that you're showing up for. Can you, with all of what you have, can you kind of leverage that to help other people who are coming after you? It's another way of looking at it, right? Rather than feeling bad, what can I do to help, actually help? And this isn't to say that we shouldn't feel bad, because I think there is some value in an honest look at all of the things that we take for granted that other people don't. I think that's important. I think it's important to have our eyes open, but not to the point where now we're paralyzed to do anything about it. So that's the second part. If we continue to stay in that place of comparison, what happens is the third thing, which is we end up keeping ourselves small, right? And so whatever potential you have, it's like, I don't want to go there. I don't want to do that because look at all these other people who are suffering and how dare I fill in the blank, right? And so you keep yourself small. And I would say it's kind of a trick. It's kind of a trick of the ego to keep you small, to say like, you don't deserve to be to have a big life because look at all these people that are suffering. And I think a lot of people, I know for myself and like my generation, there was always this thing about like, finish everything on your plate because there's children in X country who don't have food, et cetera, right? And I think the lesson that was trying to be taught was about gratitude, being grateful for what you have and really appreciating what you have. But the story that we got was, you don't get to enjoy your thing because somebody else right? And it's funny, I use that example, and a lot of eating disorders come out of that come out of that advice, right? Of preparing, like, finish everything on your plate, and then people grow up and they can't control their food intake or whatever. So just being mindful that you're not using your privilege to make you small, to make you feel bad, to keep you low, because that's kind of a waste. It's kind of a waste. I would say that gratitude, actually coming in with a lens of gratitude, clears all that energy, right? Because gratitude is really often about looking at the moments of light in the past and the present. And there are some of us who are walking a dark path, like we're just kind of stuck in the valley right now. All over the world, people are stuck in the valley, in the pain. And if some of us would be willing to be that point of light, be that person who's holding the gratitude, be that person who's, even though there's pain in the world, I'm still willing to find beauty, I'm still willing to be grateful for whatever I have, then you get to be, for somebody, maybe you're a way shower, maybe you're a light holder, torch bearer. So that's what I would say about that, that be really thoughtful about making yourself small, living in the guilt, versus, okay, I understand I have a lot more than other people. It doesn't mean I shouldn't celebrate that and feel bad about that, but how can I use that to actually step into leadership and make real change in places that that's possible and practical for me in my context. So those are my thoughts, Derek, about the question. It's a really philosophical question. It's a really profound question. And thank you so much for asking it. If you have a question that you'd like me to answer on a future episode of Ask Dr. Saira, just send me a quick email. The email address is at the end of this video. And until next time, see you later.